Hey, I'm George from MovieWeb. How are you both?
Good, George. How are
Dude,
you?
I'm doing well, man. Hi, nice to
Hey,
meet
nice to meet you too. I guess I'd love to start just kind of talking about, approaching this sort of genre of show, where we're talking about a small town, we're talking about kids and kind of growing up and stuff like that, and it's modern. There's a lot of things this series brings that you can already tell are different. And I'd like to hear you both. Maybe we'll start with Ryan, talk a little bit about what attracted you to it and where you think it stands apart, kind of.
Well, I think part of what sets us apart is obviously the racing element, the car element of it all. I've made the parallel that there are these towns in Texas that are obsessed with football. This happens to be a Rust Belt town in Pennsylvania that's obsessed with cars and racing. Some of the industry there has died and gone away. It's a town that needs to be revitalized. I think Logan feels somewhat responsible or wants to help make that happen. Um, I love that you've got all of the coming of age beats, first loves, the heartbreak, the interpersonal dynamics of figuring out your way in a new town, but also there's the central theme of family, and all families looking different but needing the same things, and it's got humor, it's got moments that are really heartwarming, and then these very dynamic action race sequences. So I think that makes us unique.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's a great point. It's got little Friday Night Lights with cars or something like
you. Yep,
Michael, if you
exactly.
could talk a little bit about that, but maybe specifically like your role, because your character he's saddled with the dad stuff, and obviously that plays into Ryan, of course. But like, I wanted you to talk a little bit about doing that and how he brings all that weight to everything going on.
I mean, yeah, I think, a lot of kids maybe feel disconnected from their culture, like disconnected from a part of their family, you know what I mean? And I think that was like something that was really important for me to represent, like I also think it was like there is this like aspect of like self-discovery and like kind of finding our place in the world. Ryan and I were talking about that earlier, where it's like, Zach is very much trying to find his place in the world and very much trying to forge his own path and decides to do it by any means necessary, which I think is like almost, it feels extreme, but like when you are trying to do something with your life, like you almost do have to be willing to do anything, but like do it by any means necessary. Like obviously don't hurt other people or anything like that. But like he's very much on this path where it's like, even if you disagree with me, I'm going to trust my gut and I'm going to do something about it. And I think that that's like a really cool message to also get across.
And he's also got that New York in him.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
coming into this small town, but he's, at heart a brash New Yorker who's grown up in the city.
yeah,
So it's a great kind of contrast for the Zach character as
for
well.
sure.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I loved that. Even in the first episode in the restaurant, he's just coming out with it. He's like, nobody's gonna push me around or push people around in front of me, and I love that. Can you talk about playing with that a little bit? And as the series evolves, that he's got a little like, yeah, he's tough in his own way. He's heroic in his own way.
Yeah, I mean, my whole family is New York Ricans, you know what I mean? So I definitely I know what it's like. I live with all those people for a long time. So, I know the kind of energy that like I wanted to make sure that Zach like had and came through as. And it was fun, like to be able to like kind of be that kind of person on screen, because I feel like for myself I'm usually a little bit more chill and kind of go with the flow, and Zach is like so not that, which is fun. And I think like he is kind of like a big fish in a small pond, like in a way. Like he was a regular sized fish in New York, now he's a big fish in a small pond, like he's getting dropped in this world and he's really like, okay, cool, I'm gonna find my way. Like there's not much to get through here. So like it was exciting for Zach, I think, to like just be able to be like kind of, he didn't like it at first, but kind of, oh wow, there's a lot to explore here.
Yeah, for sure. Ryan, I want to ask you, on this, you are one of the you're playing the older generation, even though you're not old, obviously, but like you're playing one of the adults, and you've been on the other side of it. You've been around. You've been the young guys and the kids in the school, and you've also worked with so many greats. Like I was thinking about like Val Kilmer recently, such an incredible talent. And like, are you kind of do you help mentor some of these folks? And like, are you and does it remind you of when you were coming up a little bit? And like, it's just funny having watched your career to see you've come to this. You're in this spot
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I guess, a good thing that I've managed to survive long. No, it's I love it, man. I love being around their energy. We have such a fantastic group of really talented young people who have worked so hard throughout this. We're always prepared. And yes, I'm very open about my past and my experiences and, things to avoid and mistakes that I've made. And so I've said I was sort of like Yoda on set, they come to me with questions about, the days of yore and, fears about being replaced by AI. I'm somewhere in the middle there. But yeah, no, it's a nice position to be in. And being a father in real life, I have sort of a paternal feeling towards these young people. And I think that translates on screen and
Totally.
relates very much to the situation that Logan is in. He invites his brother's ex and their two kids to come live with him. I think he feels a responsibility for that, for reasons that you sort of find out over the course of the season. But it's nice, man. It's a nice position to be in, and they're a great group, like I said. So I want to help them advance. I'm excited to see where all of their careers go, and for the world to get to know them.
I love the scene in the first episode. You decide to give the car to the kid, and like that moment is really imbued with, I think, some honest, like, paternal or parental vibe. Like it's a very honest, heartfelt moment. It doesn't have to be,
Right.
You brought a lot to that, and I'm curious for you to talk more a little bit about being a dad in real life and how you brought warmth, to this character. He's different than a lot of your other characters.
Yeah, it is. It is. As a father, you would do anything for your children. All you want is for them to be happy and to succeed in life. And I think that's how Logan feels about the young people on this show, especially his niece and nephew. And then Marcel, who you mentioned, who I give the car to in the first episode. He's a very sympathetic character, great actor, Nicholas Cantu. But yeah, he needs a little protection. His home life is rough, and Logan feels for that. It's nice to play a guy who's just very kind of a decent human being. Like definitely has a past that we kind of get to know a little more about as the season goes on. But he's a laid back guy who really cares about the people around him, and that's enjoyable to play.
Yeah, and it feels like as you talk about towns, maybe where industries change in parts of this country, like it's a nice thing to see, right? Somebody who wants to take care and stuff like that. I really appreciate you guys taking the time. We got to wrap, but thanks for your time and great work on this.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, bro.